More late disappointment as Town let a narrow lead slip at Crewe. Where we heard that before. Don't worry, there's just one more game to go before it's the summer. This is the Blue Monday podcast. Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast, discussing the Town up or down since 2015. I'm Richard Woodward, and this is our full-time reaction show after Crewe won, Ipswich Town won. Joining me straight after the game at Crewe is a very frustrated Seb Brown. Seb, sum up your emotions, because this must be a familiar feeling for you, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's like the old days, isn't it? I mean, it was an end of season, absolutely nothing going on game. One moment of quality in the first half, and then we just didn't kill it off. We got so sloppy in the second half and kept giving them chance after chance. If they had a striker, if Mandron could finish, we'd have lost that game today. And like you said in the intro, one more to go and we're done. And yeah, I think about half the players seem to be on the beach already. No energy. We look knackered at 60 minutes, and it's just a really frustrating day.
More points dropped from winning positions as well. This is starting to creep in of late. We've got Wigan, Shrewsbury, Oxford, and now today. Any thoughts as to why you mentioned fitness there? Is that the factor?
Maybe, and we just don't put sides to bed, do we? You know, even when we're not playing well in the first half today, we get the goal on the stroke of half time or a couple of minutes after the 45th minute. And you're thinking, okay, well, let's get a second goal in the second half. And then we can see a couple of the youngsters get a bit of a run out and stuff and do some in-game management. But as the game went on, we sort of got sloppier and sloppier. And I guess it's been a long season for some people. You know, the likes of Vincent Young aren't going to be able to do 90 minutes because they've not played for so long, and that comes into an effect. But, you know, we're going to have to start killing teams off, because otherwise this is going to keep on happening. And you know, it's just a bad second half, a rubbish game, a bad second half, and yet again we see more drop points, which is why we're going to finish. Where are we now? 10th, 11th in the league.
Yeah, 11th, and we have to win next week to surpass the points tally from last season, which is a pretty sad indictment on the season.
If you'd have said that in August, we'd be thinking, oh my God, what's gone wrong? But today was an absolutely nothing event.
Yeah, talk to us a couple of changes. Vincent Young came in. I think you were probably expecting that after our chat in the pre-match. I was hoping to see Joe Pigott, and he started alongside James Norwood. Either of those make an impression?
Pleased to see them both involved. Vincent Young was the better of the two. He started not great in the first 5 minutes, but really grew into the game, and it was his persistence and his cross for the goal that Chaplin got in the 46th minute. He did okay, and I think sensibly he was taken off round about the hour mark. I think it was 65 minutes or so, and that's sensible from McKenna. You know, he's not played for an awful long time. We were debating it in the stands. I don't think he's played since he got sent off against Wimbledon, possibly in January. That might be wrong, but he's not played football for an awful long time, and we know his injury record, so makes sense to get him off the pitch, and hopefully he'll get a start again next weekend if Burns is struggling. Pigott did what Pigott does. You know, he was getting quite a lot of abuse around me. I thought his link-up play was okay in patches, but unfortunately he plays with his back to goal and he doesn't really offer any kind of goal threat. There was one probably midway through the first half where it opened up for him. He was on the edge of the D and just thought, here we go, and he just completely ballooned it over the bar. So unfortunately we didn't learn anything from Pigott today that we don't know. And yeah, I think he might be one that moves on in the summer potentially now.
Any different thinking about certain players who are either out of contract or on, you know, Backinson? I'm thinking, you know, it sounded like the midfield possibly were losing the game in the second half, which allowed Crewe to get back in it. Any thoughts on personnel and any changes you'd be making into the summer?
Morsey was his normal busy self. He put himself about. He was trying to get people up for it and lead by example. A couple of scraps here and there, and Morsey gave what you expect from him. Backinson got booked for tugging one of the Crewe players back down their right-hand side, sort of midway through the first half, and it kind of impacted his game, I thought, a little bit in the second half. I kind of thought the change would be either Humphreys or El Mazouni on for Backinson just to freshen up the central midfield position. He did what he does. He recycled the ball okay, but I think the yellow card in the first half kind of hampered his second half performance a little bit. The rest of them, you know, Thompson was okay. He was reasonable. He was better than he was against Wigan when he came on. Centre backs were fine. Donassi, Wolfenden and Burgess all did absolutely fine. Norwood started left with Pigott as the focal point striker, and he was disciplined in that role, but he doesn't really offer you much when he's stuck out there. And again, he got booked in the first half, which kind of curtailed his performance a little bit in the second half.
And I guess frustration really that there's under 23 players on the bench. You got Hayes in for Hladky, and I'm sure you guys will talk about why that was on the Flagship show on Sunday. But Baggett there, Humphreys, Chiwera. Disappointed that, as you mentioned, we didn't get the second goal and take control to give those players an opportunity.
As I said, yeah, I thought the logical move would be to bring one of Chiwera or Humphreys on, maybe El Mazzuni on for Backinson. But as the game went on, we just got more and more sloppy. And I guess McKenna was thinking it's not the kind of game you maybe want to throw a youngster into when the tide of the game is turning. I guess he thought his senior pros might do okay and might see the game out, but we just seemed to run out of legs at one point. You know, we had no options to replace Vincent Young with a like-for-like player. So you had El Mazzuni playing out wide wing, right wing back. I thought we might go to a 4-3-3 at that point, but he played in the wing back role, and you know, I think it was. I think Joe put it in the Telegram group. It was a needs must change because Vincent Young couldn't continue, and I guess that hampered what we could do after that. But disappointing, those guys didn't get a run out.
Yeah, thoughts on El Mazzuni as a right wing back? Is that a kind of a makeshift change rather than one you see becoming a thing?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Joe put it in the group saying he played, I think, right back or right wing back quite a bit in his, you know, when he was a scholar and coming through. But I think he's best in the middle. You know, you want that tenacity, that kind of physicality in the middle of the pitch, and that's why I thought he would come on for Backinson. But we had to make a change with Vincent Young blowing. I guess I kind of figured Donasian might go out there, and you might bring Baggett on and put Baggett into the centre back position to maybe make it a bit more natural. But for whatever reason, McKenna obviously thought he could put El Mazzuni on to see out the game, but we just didn't get going at all in the second half. We got more and more sloppy. We gave them chances. We'll talk on the Flagship about the chances they had and missed. There were a couple of big saves from Walton. Yeah, good save from Walton, and then Mandron couldn't finish a follow-up one time. And yeah, it was a really, really frustrating day. And I don't think we've learned anything other than the same thing we've known for the last 6 weeks or so, that we don't score enough goals to kill games off, and our in-game management isn't anywhere near good enough to see games out when we're protecting a 1-0 lead. So McKenna will know what needs to be worked on, and today was just simply more of the same. And
another, it has to be said, a decent strike from Lowry to get the equaliser. Your thoughts very briefly on Crewe?
They were okay. They, as we said last night on the pre-match show, they played decent football. There wasn't much about them in the penalty box at all. You know, they won in the first half where Long absolutely blazed it from a good position. He blazed it wide, and they knocked the ball around neat and tidy. And they're a decent footballing side, as you'd expect with a team of their pedigree. I thought their defenders were okay, considering, you know, they're up against the likes of, you know, Pigott and Norwood, who are much more experienced at this level than they are. But they were all right as a side, but they created better chances than we did. They took one of them. It was a nice hit on the sort of from the edge of the D. I think my view wasn't great, but I think it was on the edge of the D. It was a nice finish. They'll be happy with the result. You know, they celebrated wildly, and they'll be pleased with their afternoon because they've taken points off a big boy.
Yeah, just worth a bit of a wrap-up of scores elsewhere. It looks like the playoff situation might be already resolved after all of this uncertainty, but Oxford losing out in a big way today, and a great win for MK Dons to keep their automatic hopes alive. But the team in 7th at the moment has got 79 points, Seb. We've got the scores going along the table, along the banner there, but big win for Wickham against Sheffield Wednesday, draw for Wigan and Plymouth, Sunderland on form at the moment as well, and Portsmouth making that 9th position their own as well. It's a bit sad, Seb, that we're not even going to get to 9th now.
Worrying. And when you said at the start of this, if we don't beat Charlton, we'll finish on less points than we did last year. I mean, that's crazy. You know, we spoke a little while ago on the anniversary of the game changer takeover, that, you know, on the pitch you'd probably give them a 5 or a 6. But good God, if we draw next week and don't finish on higher than last season, then that's worrying, isn't it?
God, you've turned into Jonah Hill to my Channing Tatum on.
I have, yeah. It's being an Ipswich fan and coming to an end of season game has taken its toll. I'm having a bad trip, as you would say.
Yeah, Seb's, bless him, at least is there. A shorter trip home for you. You'll be back on the Flagship show tomorrow with Joe and Ben, so tune in for that. Seb, this is your final Ipswich game of the season, isn't it? Do you want to sum up your feelings? Relief, happiness, I guess, but disappointment that we're at the end of the season and nothing really to show for it.
Yeah, it would have been lovely, wouldn't it? I mean, there was 1,200, 1,300 fans there today. If we'd have had something riding on this, if we're a point or two outside the playoffs or a point so inside the playoffs, that would have been a superb away day. But it's just horrible the way the season is petering out. I really hope they win next week against Charlton to at least go into the summer on a bit of optimism and help drive a few extra season ticket sales, because the last few weeks, I mean, Plymouth was our last victory, wasn't it? So I think it's 1 win in 8 now, and it's really just petering out badly. But as being football fans, we know as football fans, it'll soon be the summer with new players and new kits and new squad numbers, and the optimism and the hope will return.
There you go. The optimism is back. It's therapy, this, isn't it? Seb, thank you for joining us straight after the game. Safe journey home. I know it's a shorter trip for you than many, but thanks for your thoughts, and we'll be interested to hear in a bit more detail on the Flagship tomorrow.
Cheers, guys. Spot on. Thank you.